Okay, let's open our meeting at whatever, 6:03. It's the meeting of the RDIC on April 11th. And before we get started, let me thank the Cable Commission for stepping in and coming up with these documents that are going to be shown last minute because the chairman was not conscientious enough to ask if they were going to be available. Thank you, Peter and company. So, why don't we start with the minutes of February 23rd. Has everybody had a chance to read them?
Make a motion to accept the minutes of February 23rd.
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Dick Williams, aye. Because you're gonna have
Yeah.
that roll call.
Yeah.
Bonnie Bessie, aye.
Jim Susi, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Vanry, aye.
Old eye.
Tamika, that's unanimous, everybody?
Okay, I got it.
Thank you. Okay, next order of business. The submission of Harbor Classic Homes definitive plan. Just as a little background, I'm sure most people know that we've been working with Harbor Classic Homes, better known as HCH, for the better part of a year. We have a purchase and sale from them. This is their submission of the definitive plan for 142 senior housing units on the parcel A, which in general terms is the top of the hill. So when you drive up into the property from Maple Ave and you split at the Y and head towards the school, it's on the left-hand side at the top of the hill. So this is their submission, and it has been distributed to all town boards that are required by our zoning. Just as background information, I attended a meeting of, I don't know the exact title, but it's an interdepartmental meeting where fire, police, building inspector, planning board, planner, and there was someone else. I'm sorry, I just can't remember who the other person was. I just attended to see what the general comments were, and they were, everybody thought this was a good plan. They didn't see anything that stuck out at them that should be addressed immediately. Fire and police were happy. Board of Health said because it was water and sewer, they were happy. The planner obviously is involved on a daily basis. So we didn't get any negative feedback from them. The ZBA has a hearing. Tamika, help me. Is it the 20th of April?
Yes, that's correct. The HPDD Review Board.
Right. Okay. That's the HPDD Review Board in the ZBA? Excuse me. The
Planning board.
the planning board is okay. No, all right. That's fine. The HPDD is the 20th. So they should have all comments back from all boards. The HPDD Review Board should have all comments back by the 20th. So that should be very helpful to them to kind of narrow focus if necessary. So that's all I have to say about that. Anybody, now that you've seen it, have any concerns, comments, or otherwise, we'll just open it up to the typical, don't have to raise your hand and get permission, discussion.
I have a quick one, because I know I'm not too good at reading this, but it looks like we discussed this already, but this is showing the shorter, like not using the side drive.
Okay, so I think just for the edification of those who may be watching, is there anyone watching from home? I don't. Tamika,
We can't tell if they're watching.
Tamika, is anyone online?
There's no one on Zoom, but that doesn't mean they're not watching on cable at home.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, good point. Thank you. So I think what Michelle is referring to is if you look at this map in the bottom right-hand corner, and let's just make it like a clock, maybe at 5 o'clock, you'll see there's an entry exit that goes out onto the roadway that's owned by the town. So your question is, Michelle?
Is that, there's like little lines across it, so does that mean that it's gonna be closed off, or would that be open for people to get, would that be another egress, another entrance?
Well,
That would be
I can,
used.
excuse me.
Sorry.
No, I can tell you that when they submitted the plan, they submitted this as an emergency exit
Okay.
and entrance. I suggested to them that in a previous meeting of the HBDD Review Board, they encouraged that to be a second means of egress. So I expect that the HBDD Review Board will, address that when they see it. I didn't want to influence the HBDD Review Board or the developer, because I think that's the HBDD Review Board's responsibility.
Okay.
Let me just say this about that. The one thing that I have tried to be very careful with, and I've discussed it with the chairman of the HBDD Review Board, Chris Senecal, I want to make sure that this board doesn't impose its thoughts and opinions on the HBDD Review Board, because it's truly their responsibility to work on this design and to bring that to us for us to approve it.
Okay.
So, I don't want to go too far down that road. I'd rather the HBDD Review Board meet, discuss it, come away with an opinion, and
Yeah.
if they come back and say it's fine, okay, so be it. If they don't, then we will go back, or they will,
Yes.
we'll go back to the to Harbor Classic Homes and say, look, that's got to be more than an emergency entrance.
Okay.
That all?
Sure.
Anybody else?
So I noticed that with this design, the garages are one-car garage, whereas the first design, which I know this has nothing to do with it, was it two-car garages. Does that, just wanted to bring that up. I don't think
Yeah,
that's-
I think the original submission was a theoretical, hypothetical, if you will. This is, in fact, their definitive plan. This is what they intend to build.
Looks good.
So, again, just to kind of look at the plan, the people at home may not be able to identify this, but if you look on the right side of the picture, you'll see a stem of the road coming in down where the writing is on the bottom of the plan. Maple Avenue is down below that to the right. And then it becomes a Y, and if you look at the right-hand side, that goes over to Central Tree School?
Yeah.
That goes over to Central Tree School. That's an existing roadway. If you take the left that goes into the subdivision, on the left-hand side, you'll see a detention pond. And then as you progress down that road, there's a detention pond on your right at about, let's call it 10 o'clock. And then if you then continue around the perimeter of that, down at about 8 o'clock, there's another detention pond, and then there's another one at, let's call it 5 o'clock. Tamika, are you able to expand this?
That would have to be Peter,
Okay.
in the back.
It's okay. It's okay. It's not necessary. You know what? I'm gonna embarrass myself and go up and point. This area right here is a
Community center.
community center. Thanks, Jim. This is a gazebo. This is proposed to be the existing Rutland Heights flagpole that we're doing our best effort, and they've agreed on a best effort basis to move the original flagpole to the highest point on the property, which, we've all thought was important to consider the Veterans Hospital. As we go around, here's another gazebo, here's another gazebo, here's another gazebo, here's another gazebo. Parking major parking, 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 parking. So it's, I think it's a pretty well thought out plan. If anyone else on the board has any comments, or anyone who's watching at home has any comments, be happy to hear them.
Is that the,
Sorry. Just hold your thought for 1 second so I can finish, because I
Go
forgot
ahead.
this. Walking trail, starting here, coming around here, here, all the way around, and ending out in the open area right now. Now, I
What-
know,
while you're still there, where is the actual bounds and is the chain link fence still Rutland's?
we haven't got that far, Dick. The engine, currently this is being reviewed by the town's engineer, Quinn Engineering. The honest answer is I can't tell you where on that map the chain link fence is. I'm gonna guess that it's the outside dotted line. I'm terribly sorry. Shame on me. I'll take care of that right now. Sorry about that. And I'm gonna guess their perimeter line inside is where their boundary is, but don't hold me to that. I don't know that. We haven't had that detailed discussion. So Quinn Engineering will come back and address that with us. Because I
Well,
know,
I'm
I know the
hoping-
one thing we've talked about is the fact that there is an existing theoretical walking trail around the perimeter fence.
Yeah.
And I have not even discussed that with HCH, the fact that, you know, their existing walkway, maybe, could it be moved? And could it be? Sure, it could be. Should it be? That's another question. I mean, I think it kind of is nice where it is, but I also think it's nice to be able to utilize the existing trail.
And I think the town of Rutland would like to utilize it as a second egress to that dump area in case something happens. And also if,
Wait a minute, go further on that one. Second means of egress to the dump area.
right, well, you're coming in by the pond on that road, you're Y to
Right.
the left, heading for the dump. If something blocks it off, how are you gonna get to the dump? If you need to get to the dump.
You won't go up there and point, will you?
It's down.
No, I know where it is, but nobody else does.
Yeah, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
It's at 5:30.
So what your concern is
Oh,
the dump is down here.
That is correct.
And your concern is if this roadway is blocked.
If something happens and you need to get to that and or the dam, which that little road at the very bottom, the little curly thing that heads to the pond.
Yep, down here.
Yes. If you need to get to it, I would like to see that second egress for any piece of equipment that needs to get in there fast or whatever.
So you're suggesting that perimeter fence might be a way for that to do?
Perimeter fence way is the way to do it. And also, if in the future, in 50 years, they want to put a road out to Kenwood, they have the ability to attach it to the road that goes into Central Tree School.
So, Mr. Williams, you're a member of the HPDD Review Board, correct?
Yes,
So I would expect this
Oh,
will be a topic of discussion at the HPD Review Board.
I have already sent a note to
Okay.
Chris,
I think that's the appropriate place for this to be discussed,
but I just
not
wanted
here.
to
No, I'm with you,
my,
and I appreciate you raising it.
my thoughts.
But again, I just want to be careful that we don't overstep our bounds. Anybody else? Thoughts, questions? Okay, with that, we shall move on off of, and this, Tamika, there's still no one online, no one on Zoom.
That's correct.
Thank you. Other than Tim, who's awful quiet. He must have a bad cold.
Oh, no. I'll just make my one comment, Mike, that, and Dick's already heard this from me. These guys did such a phenomenal job on this, that was to borrow without the intent to return and turn those into part of our subdivision regs. So, I am overwhelmed with the work that Harbor Classic Homes has done on this design.
Tim, I think we missed some of what you said. What was it specifically you were impressed with?
In the back of their submission, they had all the details, every component in the subdivision, erosion control.
Oh, yes.
All
Okay.
those details we typically don't get, and my intent was to use those details to enhance our subdivision regs within Rutland.
Great. Well, I think I've passed on to this committee how impressed I've been with their group. They've been right on top of things, meeting commitments, and I'll be surprised if we have any surprises. All right, thanks, Tim. No more discussion on HCH? Okay. Moving on. Next article, next item of discussion is the warrant article for revolving account. And I added this. The RDIC does not have the ability currently to be able to receive monies from any source and be able to maintain that money. So by way of example, and I think Jimmy and Dick will understand this perhaps just because of their experiences. The planning board, when a subdivision is being proposed or built, they have certain fees that they require. One of those fees are administrative fees, which are for basically running the board and the department and all the things that are associated with the time relevant to that particular proposal. And the second is professional services, such as engineering. Help me, Jim, you know better than I do even. It's been a long time since I've done this. Engineering is a big, legal fees would be another one. So when, in our regulations, when Harbor Classic Homes submitted their definitive plan, they submitted a certain amount of money, and I think it was $5,000, with their submission of the definitive plan. Well, the RDIC doesn't have any place to put that money. So if we don't have a place to put that money, it goes into the general fund, and whatever happens to it, happens to it.
Kiss it goodbye.
I'm sorry?
And kiss it goodbye.
Thanks, Dick. So I have, because we haven't met in a while, I have gone to the town and said, look, the RDIC needs the ability to have a quote-unquote revolving account where these kinds of monies would be put into our account that will be collected from others. This isn't money that comes from the town, and will stay in the RDIC's, I hate to use the word control because everybody gets all nervous about that, but will stay under the auspices of the RDIC. So I have proposed a warrant article to the Board of Selectmen, and I've done this outside of a meeting. I'm fessing up, the only way it could happen in a timely fashion would be for me to do what I did. So I've discussed it with the chairman of I originally started with, just to give you the whole story, with Becky, and reviewed it with her. She was going to discuss it with the town accountant. I then get an email from the town administrator, sending a letter to our legal counsel asking for advice. Then the town administrator position is in a state of flux. And so I was kind of in a state of limbo. I went back to Becky and I said, Becky, I need to keep this moving. What do we do? Well, we need to get an answer from the finance committee and we need to get an answer from the town council. So I spoke to the chairman of the finance committee and she said, without a recommendation, this is really getting complicated, but without a recommendation from town council, they probably would not support it. So all articles that the selectmen submit for town meeting approval are reviewed by town council. So I am now waiting for that review with the Board of Selectmen and town council for them to come back and hopefully say, yeah, this isn't a problem. We will then have a place to put that $5,000 in our account to pay Tamika and do whatever else we want to do rather than going back to the town for money. So that was a very convoluted explanation, but I'm sorry, it's the best I could do. Anybody, comments, questions? Thank you, because I don't know if I could answer them. Okay, next item of discussion is the 300th Anniversary Committee. This was added because of some emails that were being sent between, and I hope you don't mind, between Michelle and Tim, and I don't know how they started, it really doesn't matter, but Tim basically asked the question, the discussion was, let me back up. I asked Michelle if she could help me with the annual report of the RDIC to the town. I just didn't have the time, and Michelle was nice enough to do it. She did a great job with it. Tim, in that, she mentioned the fact that the 300th Anniversary Committee was going to use the site for the 4th of July, well, not 4th of July, 300th Anniversary celebration.
Yeah.
Tim then raised the question, hey, has the RDIC, are they aware of it, and have they discussed that? And I then responded to Tim saying, no, we hadn't, because this was done out of a town meeting, but we had discussed it.
And it was in my letter to, it was in my email. I was supposed to email Joe Buckley about mowing.
Yes.
And so I had finally done that. And I think Tim's response was from my email to Joe Buckley, because I specifically said that we wanted to do it every other month if possible. And we should probably try to have it done like before the 4th of July. And for the carnival thing, which was tentatively scheduled for mid-June. But I did go back, it was in our minutes, that we talked about it and we were all agreeable. We didn't necessarily vote on it, but we did discuss it and
Right.
everyone was agreeable to.
If I remember correctly, Sheila came to a meeting
She
and
did.
asked us, and we agreed that shouldn't
Yes.
be a problem.
Yeah.
So this is really kind of for Tim's benefit. I wanted to make sure everybody was clear in that. And, you know, one thing I want to add to this is this committee in the past has voted to allow the chairman to make certain decisions outside of meetings that I was going to say aren't that important, but if they're important enough to be asked, they're important. That didn't require a meeting and a vote. And I know I've explained this before, and the committee was in agreement with that. This is one of those decisions, by way of example, that, you know, I know we discussed it, but this is a decision such as, for instance, when the Boy Scouts wanted to launch their rockets there, they called me and asked me, well, I don't think it's necessary to have a meeting of this board to say yes. I said yes. So I guess if anybody has any problem with that, we should discuss that. But that's the only reason this is on the agenda. I want to make sure Tim was comfortable and everybody else is still comfortable with that decision that was made. So Tim, do you have any comments? And I don't mean to put you on the spot. I just want to make sure we're clean.
No. The only thing, I guess I'm all for the 300th and them using the RDIC property. My question was, when Sheila came back in September, she just asked, in general, can we use it? And again, I was one of the straw votes that said, yeah, sure. But I was expecting her in the future, when things got more solidified, to say what they were using it for. So we had an idea of what's going to be there, when's it going to happen, stuff like that. And that's the only thing I haven't seen. I haven't seen any updates, Mike, through you or through the 300th of what they were planning to do. And again, I'm just being overcautious, mainly from a planning board side, is if Harbor Classic Homes is in there, you know, if this definitive plan goes through and they start doing work, is there going to be any interference? And I really don't want any interference between the builders and the 300th. So it's more of making sure everything's coordinated. That's the only thing I was concerned about.
Okay.
So,
Just let me respond to that. Tim, you don't have, you know me well enough. I know how important this is. If I, as an individual, as the chairman of this committee, said, yes, you can use it, it was with the understanding that, and, you know, I mean, you and I both know that there's not gonna be anything going on up there by the middle of June that's gonna affect their ability to be able to use it up the top of that hill. And if there is, well, then you know what, the 300th committee can't use the top of the hill, they can use, you know, parcels B and C, but you can't use parcel A. And we made that clear to them, so I guess that's all I have to say there.
Yeah, Mike, I agree with you. That's the only reason I brought it up, is I just wanted to make sure the 300th knew that it's gold. It's
That's priority number one.
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the only thing I wanted to do. I'm more than happy that Sheila talked about bringing people through and teaching them history. I think that's a great idea. I just, again, I'm being, I guess, proactive, because I want Harbor Classic Homes to have no issues, no problems, no questions, and no interference, so they can get this project kicked off and moving.
I'll make one comment to that. They have come in front of the planning board for A&R approval, which you approved, did you not?
Yeah, we signed it.
Yes.
I'm not.
And I attended that meeting just to make sure that I understood and things flowed in the right direction. They met with the ZBA, Conservation Commission. I attended that meeting just to make sure the same thing happened. So I'm doing the best I can to, at least initially, and I will attend the HPDD review board if I'm in town, meeting for the same purposes. So I think I'm doing the best I can to stay right on top of making sure that Harbor Classic Homes is number one on parcel A. And I hope you guys entrust me to continue to do that. So, okay.
Mike, you got, or the HPDD or whoever's got Quinn Engineering hired, Carl Holgren is the best.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to have a hell of a good engineer watching this project.
Yep. Okay. So you're good?
Yep.
All right. Any other comments on the 300th committee?
I have an update, if you will. It's not much of an update, but I did ask Sheila about it. I told her that we were meeting, and she's called the carnival operator a couple of times, but hasn't had a response yet. So it may or may not still be happening. But it is for the weekend. I think it was the weekend of June 18th that they had tentatively scheduled it.
Yes, it is.
So we'll see if how. Oh yeah, you're on the committee, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll see if it even happens. But right now, she's still hoping to get a response back if they're even going to be able to do it. And she'll let us know as soon as she gets one.
Michelle, the only thing I want to throw in, from being years working at Riley and having that carnival over at Greendale Mall, after they left,
Hold the fort for
it was always a disaster for trash.
Yeah.
So I'm throwing that out there. Again, I don't know who this operator is. I just know from my experience working at Riley for 20 some odd years is that parking lot at Greendale was a disaster after the carnival left. And usually Greendale would hire a company to come in and clean it up.
Yeah.
The owner of the mall would. So I'm throwing that out there. I really don't want our property looking like crap because of a carnival operator.
Yep.
Seems how Mike is away. Let's have just a regular conversation. Hey, if you get into the jam and you need something cut, just let me know. I'd be more than happy to come up and cut.
Okay. I'm trying to get away. So one of the things I will speak to that too about the lawn mowing. So one of the things I think I copied. Did you guys all get a copy of the email, right?
Yes.
I did put in the email that because Joe had a nice response back about having no budget. His budget is like zero for lawn mowing and upkeep maintenance. But I think it's really important to keep a list of these unmet needs in town. Like I think people really don't understand how bare bones the budget is and how there's just no wiggle room. There's absolutely no fat in the budgets, and we really need to have some of these services restored somehow. And it doesn't matter whose pocket it comes out of, it's all town money, but if everybody's pockets are empty, it's not getting done. And I don't think we can continue to rely on volunteers. Because I know volunteers do other things, right? Like they said, volunteers have been mowing the fields for like baseball and softball and stuff, right? But like Memorial Field is a town property.
Yeah, because Michelle, for the what was that? The food festival.
Yeah.
There was nobody to do it, so Randy went and got one of his guys to come up there and mow the whole field the night before because it was ankle deep.
Right.
And again, just volunteers. Joe just had nobody available, and no one could do it. So again, volunteers. So
Right.
I feel your pain.
Yes, and I'm concerned because the more we do this, I don't know, we're going down that rocky road of like, how many services do we really not want to have?
Yeah. Well, it's only going to get worse with the fuel costs and everything going through the roof in the last 6 to 8 months. So Joe's going to even have more of a budget deficit with his fuel costs.
Right, and how many volunteers are going to do it with the fuel costs, right? Like, at least the town doesn't the town get a break, or at least like a tax break if it's for a municipality? Versus
I think there's a state what's the word I'm looking for? Cost
bid
for fuel.
Yeah. And so even with that, it's better than, you know what I mean? Like, but people using their own equipment, so there's wear and tear on their personal equipment, and then if something happens to it, as we've seen, like that can be a problem. And I don't know, how long are we going to lean on, a small portion of the citizenship to step up and do these things, where isn't it everybody's shared responsibility?
I'll make one comment to that. I feel as though the more we rely on volunteers, the easier it is to rely on the volunteers, and I think that's unfair. We're blessed in this town to have the volunteers that step up and do it, but then once they do it, it kind of becomes expected, whether it's not a spoken word, but it becomes expected, and I don't think that's fair to the volunteers. To your point of, if they're volunteering time, that's one thing, but when it's costing you money for fuel and tires and, broken mowers, that is a burden that a volunteer shouldn't be expected to pay.
Yeah.
So,
Henceforth, today's little episode on the Rutland Heights Way, I had to haul her out of the truck, had an operator who was unloading blocks onto the RDIC property, cement blocks. I said, "Who gave you permission?" He says, "Why are you yelling at me?" And I said, "Because I couldn't hear and and the buses were coming, so I took off."
Was that somebody from the town doing it?
No, it was the contractor that's putting in it's blocks for the new sidewalk on Revolving Ave.
Okay.
So henceforth, if nobody was notified, I think we ought to have, well, you are using our property, therefore you must do this. I think you ought to barter.
well, you know what, Dick, I don't disagree with you. I got a call yesterday from a concerned citizen saying, "Hey, what's going on up at Heights? There's equipment up there, and there's," I think he said, "pipes and blocks and things." And he said, "Is that HCH?" And I said, "Well, it can't be HCH because we haven't signed a deal, for them yet." So I said, "It must be the town." So now it obviously is the town. So I guess I'll have a conversation with Joe. Obviously, if that's, just from a logistics standpoint, a better place to put it than wherever it is down behind the town barn. And I'm sure Joe doesn't think, "Oh, gee, I should call the RDIC," and we're not going to say no, but it would be nice to know so we don't get caught in these kind of discussions. And I'm sure Joe will be more than happy to work with us. So I will call him and discuss that.
Mike, I just had a thought back on that Warrant article for a revolving fund. Would you get any more traction if you said the revolving fund was for Harbor Classic Homes, and when we're done with the project, the revolving fund, the money will be given back to Harbor Classic Homes, whatever's left in it? Would that give you more traction with legal and with the town accountant?
No, that's not what a revolving fund is used for. The professional services fund, that's how that works. You know this, Tim. If one of the developers gives you whatever, $20,000 for a project, and you spend $15,000 in engineering, and the project is done, well, you have to be able to justify to him the expenses of that $15,000, and you need to give him a check back for $5,000, correct?
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure.
But hang on, Tim, let me just finish. So
Okay.
when the administrative funds that you collect, you don't do that, correct?
Correct.
I thought we had, my understanding, the way the town, the way we do it is, we have one general fund that we can't pay out more than $75,000 to, for any type of professional services. I didn't think we had a revolving fund split into two different type of ones, but I could be wrong.
Mike, it's Tamika,
No.
may I?
Yes, please.
So Tim, I think what Mike is referring to is what the planning board uses kind of as their administrative fund. Mike is looking at that as being the revolving fund. There already is a 53G account established for ACH, and that's temporarily where we put the funds into. But Mike is looking for more of a fund that could be used if other things came up and the money came in from someone other than ACH. Does that make sense? So there already is a 53G account for them, which is the same as like the subdivision account. But then the administrative account that we use for planning board, where we pay, the T&G fees and my salary, and we deposit fees from A&R, stuff like that. That's kind of what Mike is looking for the RDIC.
So it's the general revolving fund, it's not specific.
Yes, it's not specific to ACH. They already have a fund set up.
Okay. All right.
You still don't sound convinced, Tim.
I'm struggling with how the town's going to approve that, because we don't have any constant fees coming in.
Well, they don't have to be constant. That's the whole point of it, to be able to collect fees as they come in, just like you do on the planning board. It's exactly the same thing you're doing in the planning board. We're doing exactly the same thing. A 53G for, let's call it professional consulting services, and the revolving fund is for the other fees. Right, Tamika?
That's correct. So just to be clear, the 53G account is specific to ACH, so only things related to that would come and go from that account. What Mike is looking for is just a revolving account for the RDIC as a whole. I will say that the ZBA is also establishing a similar account, and that one's going to be going on the warrant as well. So I don't really think they're going to get pushback, because the ZBA doesn't have a steady stream of income, but when we do get applications, that's where we can put it, and then we can pay for it. So I don't foresee him getting a lot of pushback on this.
Okay, then my next question would be are we going to leave the $10,000 or $12,000 that's a warrant article where it's at, or is it going to get transferred in the revolving fund?
Let's not complicate this revolving account with that discussion.
Okay.
I'm sorry, but it gets much too confusing to do it. I think the thing, Tim, you need to understand is, and anybody else who's listening, these are fees that are being paid by outsiders to the RDIC. This has nothing to do with town money. It's not coming out of any town coffers. It's being collected from outside sources.
Okay, I'm good. I just, again, I don't know what the accountant or the legal's gonna come back, so I was trying to find a way to make it more palatable to them.
Why do you think it's unpalatable, I guess? What's your concern?
Oh, it's just how the interpretation is of the requirement for a revolving fund for the RDIC.
Well, how is it any different than the planning board has a
Mr.
revolving
Chair, if
fund?
I may.
Yes, please.
Peter-
Hang on one second, Tim. Peter Crane is speaking.
So the fast answer is that there are many, many, many kinds of revolving accounts set up by different sections of Mass General Law. 53G is specific to planning board. Concom has its own by virtue of Mass General Law. Virtually everybody else uses 53E and 1/2, which is a general revolving fund. That's the kind of fund that is the planning board administrative account. It is what's being set up for the Earthworks Board and ZBA this year. And that is just for general administrative use and general fees. To answer Tim's other question, that account starts completely empty until you draw in funds from fees or whatever. So you need money from the general fund to kickstart all the processes. So the general fund article that's in there now should stay exactly as it is, which lets the RDIC draw from a fund until the revolving fund is sufficiently populated with money to draw money against it.
And to that point, we have collected $5,000 on the submission of the definitive plan that Becky has stuck somewhere where she knows where it is, that as soon as we get this fund set up, that $5,000 will move into that fund.
Wouldn't it go into the
I'll leave it to
53G?
Becky to know if that's a legal thing
Me
to do.
too. Well, I'll leave it to Becky and town council. So I guess, Tim, let's not get hung up on the nitty gritty of it. Do you philosophically agree with we're in the same place as the planning board?
Oh, yeah, I
All
have no
right, so
problem.
let's let the town council and I guess the town treasurer figure out the minutia of the details, because it's certainly something I don't want to do.
Good
I know
enough.
you come from a different perspective sometimes, but
Yeah, I just want to, if we're gonna use it, let's get it through. And I'm just don't want to deal with the, I've had enough MGL, excitement on, Ridge Road that I really don't want any more.
all right, so again, I'll ask you, do you see anything, do you have any concern about us setting up the same thing the planning board has?
Oh, not at all.
Okay,
No.
moving right along. Are you done?
Oh, yeah, I'm good.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but if you agree with that, I think we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, Tamika is always kind enough to put this other relevant updates as needed on the HCH project. And something happened over the last couple of days that I just thought would be worthy of some discussion. As I'm sure everybody is aware, I think everybody is aware that there is a proposal to build a cell tower right next to Central Tree Middle School. And there is a group that has organized themselves to oppose that. I got an email from that group, was it yesterday or the day before? I don't have the date here, but basically sorry, I'm hesitating because I don't know whether I should expose this person's name or not. So in the air, just to be cautious, I won't. There was someone of past experience and authority that was willing to write a letter to the Wachusett Regional School Committee, stating their concerns about the location of the tower, all of the reasons why they had concerns about it. There was a lot of reasons that they expressed, and I mean, I can read the letter if you want, but it's fairly long. But one of the items was the fall zone, which is if the tower falls over, is there enough area for it to not cause any heartburn? And apparently, according to some, this fall zone actually comes on the driveway of the school property. That was a significant concern. So this person was going to send a letter to the Wachusett Regional School Committee asking them to address this. They asked whether, and I don't mind sharing this information because this is the public organized group, Carolyn Streeter on Phillips Road and Dave Gould on Phillips Road, sent this to me and asked for anybody interested to sign the letter to the school committee expressing concern. So I thought it worthwhile to at least bring it up here, and just a brief discussion. Do you think the RDIC should take a position? So what I said back to them was, in the gist of it is, I have a scheduled meeting of the RDIC tomorrow night, so I did get it yesterday, and we'll bring this up for discussion. After the discussion, I may be able to add my name to the letter. Dee Dee send it to someone else, and I asked for an email address. So I guess, does anybody have any thoughts about should the RDIC, given particularly its proximity to the HPDD property, take a position and perhaps sign this letter that's being sent to the Wachusett Regional School to make? And you know what, I should read this.
Yeah.
Dear members of the WRDC, we are writing to you seeking both immediate and long-term action within the Wachusett community. As you may know, the town's Rutland Zoning Board of Appeals is currently assessing a variance requesting for the siting of the large cellular phone tower immediately abutting Central Tree Middle School. It is the firm belief of many members of the community that this proposed tower is detrimental to the school and is commonly and its community function, and every voice be lent in opposition to granting this variance. This proposed tower has several potential impacts upon the students, facility, and community that should be known by the WRDC. This, I already discussed, the full potential height of the tower could strike the school property. That's not exactly what it says, but that's going to be changed. The school soccer fields, which are chronically wet and downhill from the proposed site, could become even more unusable when the proposed site, which contains wetland areas, is cleared of water-absorbing vegetation. The proposed site could be curiosity to young people to the school fields and after school for the community and school supporting events, as it will be a short walking distance closer from Naquag School in an area not easily supervised by parents and police. This is above and beyond the ever-growing set of peer-reviewed research citing the potential health problems associated with cellular transmitters used within close proximity to people. In states such as neighboring New Hampshire and countries around the world, governments have been moving towards providing a greater level of safety by creating mandatory distances between people and towers such as this. This proposed tower is significantly closer to any distances used by those governments who have considered the research. The potential for health impacts is so great that many insurance companies such as Sotheby's carry specific riders to indemnify them for payments due to costs and settlements reached in cases where an employer did not provide adequate safety against these health risks. What we are asking the committee to consider is as follows: provide a statement of opposition to granting the specific variance requested to the Rutland ZBA. Number 2, direct the facilities subcommittee or any other subcommittee of jurisdiction to draft a policy to be considered by the full committee that would trigger a statement of opposition to any future cellular tower being raised within proximity of a school within the district if it fails to meet certain expectations such as setbacks or any other measures the policy may define. Number 3, the Direct Educational Subcommittee or any subcommittee of jurisdiction to review the current research of wireless technology, in parentheses, cellular wires, etc., close parentheses, to promote the safe use of such technologies within the school and draft any policies such review yields to guide the administration on its use within the districts. And then it goes on, and I'm getting close to the end. Knowing that the timing of this is quite sudden and precarious, given that the facilities subcommittee currently scheduled to meet just prior to the full WRDC meeting on April 25th and the Rutland ZBA meetings to be held on the 27th, we respectfully ask the following. Number 1, that the that the WRSDC at their April 11th meeting refer the consider of a statement in opposition to the proposed cellular site variance of the facilities subcommittee or the consideration later this month. 2, that the facilities subcommittee consider a draft statement of opposition below as the basis for their statement, vote its approval, and report it out on the April 25th meeting to the full WRSDC. And 3, that the WRDC acts upon the draft statement from the facilities subcommittee at its April 25th meeting. And then, to help in your deliberations, we would ask you to consider a simple statement of opposition such as following. The Wachusett Regional School District Committee, in its responsibility for the safety of students from Naquag School and Central Tree Middle School while in our care and operating as an abutter to the property, opposes granting the proposed variance to place a cellular tower at 12 Phillips Road in Rutland, Mass. So that, again, I'm not going to share the name because I didn't ask his permission of the person that wrote this. So that's what precipitated this whole discussion. I guess I'd just like some thoughts on, they're asking for signature support, and I certainly am not going to support this as the RDIC without discussion and your approval. So, sorry about the lengthy. Thoughts, anybody?
I am not in agreement with that letter at all. I mean, my main argument's been for this is that there's a cellular tower in the church right across from the school. That was never opposed, never anything said about. So I really, and I haven't heard of any radiation or cancer cases from the schools from that one in the steeple. So I'm struggling with the cellular tower now all of a sudden potentially a health risk, when the one in the center of town in the, I think it's the Congo Church, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
That's correct.
Has been next to the library, has been within 200 feet or less of the school, and then secondary. I think that tower is going to help out Harbor Classic Homes with reception. So it's not, to me, it's not a detriment for the RDIC. It's actually an enhancement for our new tenants that'll be in that senior housing for wireless and for cellular communication.
So you're suggesting that the Harbor Classic Homes property doesn't have good reception?
I don't know that for a fact, but I'm just saying that it'll only enhance it by having a cell tower that close.
I think setting aside the safety issue, I think my bigger concern, well, one is just the unsightliness of it at that particular site, but also the if the fall zone is in the roadway, that could be a problem.
Oh, I certainly think that would be a problem.
Yeah, I think we better fix that problem.
There's 360 degrees of fall zone. I'd really like to see, I'm having trouble with, trees can fall and block the road too. Some of those trees over there are 40 feet high. So,
yeah, Tim, we're talking about a tower that, well, I'm not arguing for and against, but let's just get the facts straight. There are trees there, you're right, are 40, 50 feet tall. We're talking about a tower that, I don't know exactly, but I think that tower can be, over time, 160 feet tall. I may be wrong on that, but it's much, much higher than the canopy.
I thought it was 140.
No, it was 40 feet, if I'm not mistaken, above the canopy.
Mike, it's 140 feet that's being proposed.
That's what's being proposed, but they have the ability to add another 10 or 20%
No, they, if I may,
Yep.
they actually have to get a variance from the ZBA to be able to put it at 140 feet.
Right,
So they wouldn't be able to go over and above that. They can add other carriers, but AT&T will be at the highest point, and the other three would be below them.
okay. All right, so it's at least twice as high as the existing canopy. Fair enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Anybody else, any thoughts?
I have no problem with you signing it.
I don't either.
I'm
I
kind of
vote
for,
take no action on it.
I could really, I could use another cell tower, I think, so I'm kind of for it. Doesn't really bother me.
All right, so I guess we need a motion to do something if you want to consider this. Someone willing to make a motion?
Bonnie just did.
Yeah, I'll second Bonnie's motion of no action.
Okay, is there any discussion on the vote of no action? Okay, so we need a vote of 3-2 either way. So, roll call.
Van Reet, no.
Sullivan, no.
Dick Williams, no.
Bonnie,
Narwhal, yes.
Susie, yes.
Okay, so that's a
And Bonnie.
3-3 vote. I'm sorry, I thought you said yes, Bonnie.
I did,
Okay, I
but I want
apologize.
to know what I'm voting for. I'm not sure.
We were voting on your
No action.
no action.
Yes.
Okay, so that vote was 3-3, so we have no decision there. Correct, Tamika?
That's correct, I believe.
Flip a coin.
Okay, is there another motion?
You wanna make?
Any other motion?
I'll make a motion to support the opposition to the cell tower.
Second,
Roll call vote.
Williams, aye.
Van Reet, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Narwhal, nay.
Susie, no.
Bonnie, nay.
Okay, 3-3, that doesn't pass either. I don't think there was another position we could take, is there? Okay,
Drop it.
all right. So, as far as this board is concerned, this is a no action item, basically a no action item. I'll do nothing. Any other discussion on that?
I just have a thought. Would we want to pass that information along to HCH? Like, they might like the idea, or they might not. But would it be worth our energy to at least approach them with it? Share the information with them so they could have an opinion on it?
It's
They
kind of a
don't-
double-edged sword, isn't it?
Are
They
you
don't-
kidding me? I can hear him now. Are you kidding me? I'm backing out.
Yeah, the only thing, Michelle, that is that even if they've got an opinion, the official vote comes for the RDIC, so.
That is
Yeah.
correct, but do you think that we would back whatever our builder wants to do?
Well, the builder has no say in this because it's not their property.
No, but-
Legally, you're correct.
Yes, but I'm just saying in terms of how they feel if it would affect them. I don't know. Just a thought.
I guess my opinion is, I'm not sure you want to poke the bear.
Yeah, I mean, again, from an engineering standpoint, you can pull studies out for electrical wires, cell towers. I mean, you can throw all kinds of science at this. And then the naysayers can throw their science. So, I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if that group's opposed to it, let them fight the battle.
Well, one thing I didn't mention, and I'm not educated enough to be able to intelligently discuss it, but the town of Pittsfield, Mass. Just issued a cease and desist to Verizon for a cell tower that's up, that's built for, all of those reasons you just mentioned, Tim.
Wow.
And that's public record, so you can take a look at that. Okay, let's not belabor the point. Enough said. I have nothing else. Anybody else? Yes, sir, Mr. Williams.
Through the chair. What should happen to the wishing well? Should we try to take it out and ask Scotty Davis, does he want it at the historic? Or do we, I'm still saying, whatever change is on the
Yeah,
bottom of that thing, I want the town historic to have it.
I couldn't agree with you more, and I'm if there's somebody interested in doing the work, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we ask Joe whether his sucker machine could go down and,
Pull the rocks out of the
well, could you, didn't we ask him if he could reach the bottom of the well and suck that stuff out? I thought you did, I'm sorry.
No, not for sucking the rocks out of the well.
But, I'm saying the rocks. I don't know what the well looks like. Can his sucker machine go down and do what you're talking about, pull the coins up?
If there was no rocks in the well themselves, they loaded the well up with rocks.
I see. So that's a whole different ballgame.
Correct.
That's basically an excavator or
An
something. that has to-
excavator to pull it out and then check. May I, what if I talk to Scotty Davis and have a discussion with him and then?
Please do.
And we'll proceed from there.
Anybody have any objection to that?
I agree 100%.
What is he gonna, how deep is it?
It's a good question. I have no idea. Like I said, I put the tractor up against it. I tried to move it and I could not budge it with the tractor with four-wheel drive. So that thing is substantially in there.
I say have at it, Dick.
Okay,
Have at it and report back to us, and,
all right,
yeah, anything we can do to preserve the history there.
yeah.
The other thing we need to do at some point, not yet, but is, find the old plaques and everything that were preserved. I don't know where they are anymore.
Scott's got most of them,
Does he?
yes.
Okay. Well, again, the HCH is committed to try to move the flagpole. And like they said, that was built by the feds. Who knows? It could be,
Yes.
the Bismarck under there, and they can't do it. So
It was
we'll
a
just
hidden chamber with stored,
let's not go
stored
there.
things.
Mike?
Yes, sir.
I got a question for you. With the flux that, and again, I apologize if anybody doesn't know this, but with the flux in the town administrator and not knowing if the new town administrator has a procurement certificate, is that going to interfere with anything with closing out the sale with Harbor Classic Homes?
You're asking me a question that's beyond my ability to
Okay.
first understand and secondly answer. I have a general understanding of what you're asking. I don't know whether we're fortunate to have Leah here from the select board's office. Sorry, I don't know whether you're here as a select person or an individual, but Leah, go ahead. Sorry, Tim, hang on.
Leah Waitman, select board, but 208 East County Road. I've been assured that the procurement issue would not be a major issue, so that within town, we will have it taken care of. Does that answer your question?
No, not really. Because I know Director Buckley has a procurement certificate or whatever, but I just want to make sure that we don't get to the point where Mike's brought before the RDIC, the definitive plans approved by the HPD, we're ready to move forward. Harbor Classic Homes wants to close out the contract, and we're stuck not being able to do that because we don't have a procurement officer. That's the only thing I want to I guess I'm playing chess. I'm trying to be 2 moves ahead.
Right, and it was brought up as far as ensuring that the town was not, that the town was covered by procurement, and we are.
Okay, good enough.
Good?
Excellent.
Okay. Anything else, anybody?
Mike, it's Tamika. Just a quick question. Did you want me to put something in writing from the RDIC to provide to the HPDD review board, similar to how other boards do it? Just to basically say that the board didn't have any specific comments at this time?
Oh, I'm sorry. In regards to the definitive plan. Yeah, yes. I
Sorry,
think
yes, I
that's-
jumped back. Sorry.
Yes, no, I got you. I think that's appropriate.
Okay.
Do you think, I don't think it's necessary to vote on that. Well, we can if you'd like. Okay, well, yes, that'd be great, Tamika. Thank you.
Okay, no problem.
Anybody else? Okay. Move to,
Motion to adjourn?
Second?
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Williams, aye.
Van Reed, aye.
Bessie, aye.
Susie, aye.
Sullivan, aye.
Norwald, aye.
Thank you all for coming and participating.